Hey, it's Luke Turner here with JL Strategic Wealth and the YouTube channel Luke Turner _CFP. Just as a refresher for this channel, our goal in this channel is to educate as many people as possible around different topics in finance, and then also have practical ways for you to implement those into your life. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the first topic. So the topic for today is health savings accounts. And a health savings account is something that you might have heard of when you're going to sign up for your benefits. If you're an employee, when you go to talk to HR, they're going to ask you what type of health insurance plan do you want to be on. And a health savings account is only for those that are on what's called a high deductible plan. And if you're an employer, you probably talk to somebody in the health insurance benefits landscape, and they've talked to you about, do you want there to be a high deductible plan or not? And really our goal today is just to outline what are the pros and cons of a health savings account if you were to actually utilize it. So let's jump right in. So the four things that we want to cover today are: one, who can contribute to a health savings account? Two, should you contribute to a health savings account? Three, what are the benefits of a health savings account? And lastly, when to use the funds in an HSA or health savings account. So let's jump right in. So who can contribute to a health savings account? So first, you have to be on what's called a high deductible health insurance plan in order to contribute to an HSA. And there's two qualifications when we think about what classifies something as a high deductible health insurance plan. And it's two things. First is what your deductible is. And a deductible is just simply how much you have to pay out of pocket before the insurance company is going to start covering any of your expenses. And then the second is your out-of-pocket maximum, which is just the maximum amount that you have to pay in the event that there's a major health issue in your life. So again, it's a deductible and it's an out-of-pocket maximum. And in the notes below, you're going to have to see a resource guide that's going to outline what those two numbers are in order for you to be able to confirm if you can contribute to a high deductible, if you can contribute to an HSA or not. So that's the first thing, who can contribute. The second is, should you contribute? So the simple answer is, if you're on a high deductible health insurance plan, you absolutely should be contributing to an HSA. And when we think about how much you should be contributing, that is really a personal decision. But when we think about HSAs, they're very similar to IRAs and Roth IRAs and other qualified accounts, 401ks, because there are limits to those contributions. So there's a maximum that you can contribute to an HSA. And when we think about those maximums, typically what we see is, from a contribution standpoint, first we want to make sure that we have that emergency fund set up. But once we have that emergency fund set up, that HSA is typically the next best thing to contribute. There's some other factors that we might want to think and talk about, but if you do have access to an HSA, we would recommend having there be some sort of contribution to that health savings account. When we think about how much that is, again, that's really a personal decision, but in the notes below, we have in that resource guide what the maximum you can contribute to an HSA is. So we've now talked about who can contribute to an HSA, should you contribute. Now third, what are the benefits? So an HSA is one of the biggest things that's missed from a financial planning perspective, and it has three main benefits. The first is that the contributions are going to be 100% tax deductible. And all tax deductible means is that any money that you put into an HSA, the government's going to reduce your adjusted gross income by. So in the simplest terms, if you make $100,000 and you put $5,000 in an HSA, rather than the government taxing you on $100,000, they're only going to tax you on $95,000. So full circle, contributing to an HSA and getting that tax deduction is going to allow you to pay less in taxes today. Then the second thing is that you're going to get tax deferred earnings. So the earnings in your HSA, they're going to grow completely tax deferred, and you can invest these dollars in an HSA, in the market, in bonds, and all sorts of public securities. So that's the second benefit, is that it's tax deferred growth. And the third is that those tax deferred earnings actually come out tax free if you utilize them for qualified expenses. So let's just give a little example here. So if you have a health savings account, you're on a high deductible plan, and you're putting in $500 a month into your HSA. So at the end of the year, you have $6,000 in your HSA. And as over the course of the year, that money's grown from $6,000 to $7,000. And in January of next year, you have an expense that's going to cost you $7,000 out of pocket. You can take out that full $7,000 that you put into your health savings account, and you're not going to have to pay taxes on the growth from the 6,000 to the 7,000, and you're not going to have to give back any of those benefits that you got when you got that tax deduction when you contributed the first $6,000. So that's a little example about what are the benefits. And then the last thing is, when should you use these funds? And really that example is a great transition into this point, because there's really three main times that you should consider utilizing a health savings account. The first is that you have healthcare bills. So if something comes up in your life, you have a big expense, you have out-of-pocket costs, you should utilize your health savings account for that. That's what it's there for. The second is Medicare premiums. So if you're over 65 years old, you are on a Medicare plan, you can actually pay your premiums for that Medicare cost out of your HSA. So this is a big thing that a lot of people miss, because it's something that we can utilize contributing to a health savings account at a younger age, say if you're 35, 40, 30, as a way to really create sort of a self-funded long-term care plan. And when we think about this, the main benefit is when you get to age 65, then you have this bucket of money that you can utilize to pay the premiums, and you're not as worried about what those long-term care costs could potentially be. And then the third thing, which goes back to our long-term care example, is retirement. So any money that you don't utilize for medical expenses, you can actually pull out and use for retirement after that 59 and a half age. So that's a big benefit, because a traditional long-term care plan, typically it's a use it or lose it. So you pay money into a policy, and if you don't actually have any cost, that money just goes away. It goes back to the insurance company. Where in this situation, any money you contribute to an HSA, once you get to that retirement age, you can pull those funds out and utilize them for retirement and not pay a penalty on them. Now, one caveat to that, when you should use them, is if you do pull them out for retirement, you are going to have to pay taxes, just like a traditional IRA or 401k. But again, there's no penalty. So just to recap, the things that we talked about in this video are what an HSA is, who can contribute to an HSA, should you contribute, what are the benefits, and when to use the funds in an HSA. So if you enjoyed this video and want to continue learning more about finance and how you can practically implement that into your own life, please subscribe below. Thanks.